Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the Political Matrix.
Hello, folks. This is Greg Fink here with the Political Matrix News broadcast. Joining me today by Scott Miller, over in Pensacola, Florida. How you doing today, Scott?
Oh, bump at the top, man. Politics is in there. It's my favorite time of year.
It's a good time of year. I mean, right now it looks like our president or former president Donald Trump has a possible ability of escaping quite a few of the indictments to become president. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be able to escape 91 indictments, but it looks like between two of the trials being pushed off until after the next cycle is over for presidency, and the Stormy Daniels, Stormy Angry Woman trial thing, which is ending up being more or less her contradicting herself. But I will say, I mean, if it was about him violating the gag order, then yeah, he's violating every kind of gag order there is, because he is, doing once again what Donald Trump is. My problem with him is that he runs his mouth a lot, but it is what it is. I mean, and you really, I guess, would expect nothing less than this entertaining reality TV apprentice show in a New York City courtroom with a porn star who was basically extorting him for hush money. And so, yeah, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You can't have any more fun with it than we can. But I mean, what say you? I mean, what do you think is going on here with the next steps? Do you think the jury is actually going to find enough evidence here to realize that, Trump is guilty?
Well, it's hard to say. What is the jury? I almost said audience. It's hilarious, but probably more appropriate. Is what are they going to do? Are they really going to are able to disconnect themselves from their motives to or at least their prejudices to just look at this case fairly? I don't know. I'm struggling to understand even the beginning of why the judge even let her testify, because there was nothing for her to say. He said that it was so that because the defense had said something about Trump not sleeping with her. Well, whether Trump had slept with her or not, whether Trump lied about sleeping with her, so what? It has nothing to do with whether or not he improperly recorded something, a business transaction, and has even less to do with whether or not that transaction violated any kind of campaign finance laws. Because I mean, it's pretty much standard procedure to go and try and kill all the stories that could be damaging to your client. I don't know if a single political campaign has gone through that hasn't had someone trying to manage that. And for her, I mean, all they've really, in my opinion, all they've wound up doing is proving that Stormy Daniels and her lawyer tried to extort money out of someone who was, running for president.
Right, and it once again did prove that the Clinton slogan that Carville and Stephanopoulos and all of them had back in the 90s really does work. First, it is the economy, stupid, when it comes to elections. It is about the economy, nothing else. And B, what's the definition of is? I mean, here, what's the definition of guilty? I mean, the whole reality here is that this is basically an angry lawyer, Michael Cohen, who is Trump's confidential, lawyer, is his source. But he is also very sketchy as well. While he is a lawyer, he always made sure he padded the price a little bit more for himself, where he had a little bit more padding in his wallet. I mean, and that's what he did, allegedly. And so, I mean, he actually admitted to it, where he actually had to pad the invoice to go ahead and cover his taxes and to cover his amounts and everything else with the transfer of the monies. And so you have him, and he's a disgruntled, angry worker. You got Trump, who, I mean, it's Trump. And then you have Stormy Daniels, who basically is a porn star who has now switched her story numerous times from being, somebody who was actually on the aggressive side of this entire relationship to now somebody who feels like she's on the Me Too side and feels like was victimized and and harassed and everything else. It's turning more like into the Bill Cosby trial than it is into the original Stormy Daniels issue here, where it started out at. And so, I mean, it's very bizarre on how all of this is just morphing, and everybody is, scratching their heads and running like scared cats because they have to get Trump on something, because the file issue that got pushed away, the other issues are getting pushed away, and I mean, what's the other jury out still?
Oh, it's the Georgia trial.
The Georgia trial, which is going to be pushed away as well. That's going to be pushed to the side because they're finding that the Fulton County people were double counting ballots, and they're looking at the credibility of the entire state attorney here, not just with their boyfriend and everything else. That was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now we have new issues here with stuff that was brought to their attention that they totally ignored about ballots being counted double time in different parts of Fulton County, and they're looking at other different investigations. And just there's a whole bunch of different shoes that are still not even dropping yet. And so, I mean, hey, God bless you guys who worked really hard. I mean, I got to give you an A+. Y'all did a really good job, DOJ, for finding as many paper tigers as you can find, as many fake skeletons as you can find. Y'all did a damn good job. I mean, 91 indictments. Like you said, you can indict a ham sandwich. There's a shitload of ham sandwiches out there being indicted right now, it looks like. Because
who knew that being a prosecutor, that an integral part of being a prosecutor was having a degree in creative writing?
Exactly. I mean, you're getting all these other lawyers disbarred. Why they should be disbarred themselves. And I mean, it's just weird. I mean, and I'm not, and once again, I'm not a big Trump supporter. I mean, I like Trump, but I'm not a never Trumper either. But I'm also not a MAGA, follow the guy off the cliff thing or a January 6th kind of guy either. But I do look at what's real and what's true. And the real thing is that, he didn't do anything wrong in these court cases. None. I mean, and so, I mean,
none of the cases that I've seen so far, are really going to hold up to scrutiny. I mean, they're the most overblown, overhyped cases that maybe in history of politics,
exactly.
At any rate.
I mean, the whole thing about Miami and Mar-a-Lago, he didn't want to return them on time. I mean, maybe he is being a little bit of an asshole about it, but there's nothing illegal about being an asshole. No, they still got their files.
Even regardless of that, you heard that they got the prosecutor to admit that they kind of altered the evidence, like evidence that they submitted to the court. That they they had all these boxes out here with these classified document tabulation sheets on them. But when people started looking at them close in the pictures, they noticed that those aren't the things that they submitted. And the prosecutor had to admit that they had actually staged all that to make it look more inflammatory.
I mean, I guess they did follow from Ken Starr's deal whenever he came out with 40 or 50 boxes. The impeachment thing was, and it was a great show. I mean, and it was all about just address. All of that could have been negated and not included. But it added to the whole, the premise of the importance of the trial. However, with Ken Starr, it was all true.
Well, the difference is that what Ken Starr did. What Ken Starr didn't submit those things as evidence. What he was doing was a media show. All right, having a show for the media, whatever. The prosecutors have been doing that since we've had prosecutors. But when you start submitting that as evidence, now we're having a different conversation.
Exactly. So it's going to be very interesting how this all turns out. I think Trump's going to end up, walking. I mean, we were talking before the show. Teflon Don, I think, is a term that came out after Trump was already born, probably, because Teflon was after he was born. But I mean, he's been walking between the raindrops and walking in a very fancy freeways his entire life, because he's been through a lot as a casino guy and a developer and a contractor through New York and Vegas and everything else, and all the stuff that he has done. You can't take it away from him enough that he's been through hell and back, and he has probably been the most persecuted person before being elected and after being elected and while being elected of anybody who has ran, for office, as far as people going into his closet. Being said, he's invited most of it, and I think he's enjoyed it because I think he enjoys a fight. He enjoys the whole bantering. That's what he
Well,
loves. So,
it's back to the same old deal of there's no bad press, and Trump of all
exactly.
people knows that. If he can promote a bit, let's say an animated conversation, well, then it's always good for him, regardless of what the conversation is.
Right. And so we're going to see on election day how this all turns out. I mean, we have some very interesting people here running right now with RFK and Biden, and the polls are swinging every different direction. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment. So thank you so much here for staying tuned with us here on this segment here of the Political Matrix News, and we'll be right back.